Welcome. What is up? We are back. Welcome to the Mixer. I'm your host RC. I'm joined by my co-host Jeffrey. How you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. What did we take a week off last week, and then we're back? So
I feel
uh,
like it might have been longer, 2 weeks, but
maybe two.
it's all good. I need some time right now. We're on summer break.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
the
Preparing. We get a break from Formula One and getting ready for football, so it makes sense.
the Greek Isles don't take Instagram photos of themselves, so we're living that F1 summer break lifestyle. Not really. Don't forget, we are the Mixer, and we're on most podcast feeds. It's the Mixer channel. We're on YouTube, the Mixer as well there, and at FCY Mixer on all social media accounts, at least the big three. And yeah, that's where you can find us. Click the bell, subscribe, all that stuff, and you'll get all the information. We might have a glow up here. That's what we're gonna call it. The Mixer is about to have a glow up, possibly. So be on the lookout for that. Um, yeah, let's talk F1. It's been a bit. But I mean, kind of rinse and repeat most of the season. The last race was the Hungarian Grand Prix, July 31st, as I am looking here. And I pulled in the group chat, I pulled a Joe Namath guaranteed heading into it. Wasn't even, I don't even think it was after Friday practice. I think it was like Thursday. I said, Ferrari 1-2, guaranteed, book it. I can't remember what I'd say I'd do if they didn't get it, but I think I was just like looking for the clout. And I mean, it was looking good on Saturday, and then Sunday came and Ferrari'd. Um, yeah, I mean, they just had terrible strategy. I'm not gonna go into the details because I mean, so much time has passed. But basically, Ferrari didn't know what to do with their tire selection. And in my opinion, they lost it from the start when they started on mediums, and the rest of the kind of players that had a chance started on the softs. So, Jeff, what the hell's going on with this fiasco? I mean, we got drivers calling their own pit strategy. Like, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, man. I need you to talk me down. Oh, he left. He left. He's like, of course it drops out. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Sorry about that.
All right. Yeah, no, it's all good. You're like, nope. You see that ledge? I mean, do what you got to do. Um, but anyway, like, yeah, man, like, what the hell's going on with Ferrari? Like, is there any hope? I mean, what? Just tell me what you think, man. Man.
Well, I think there's some hope because I think Charles is really good. Um, do I think it's likely he can pull off a Vettel type? What was it, 9 in a row to end the season to win? Back in like 2011 or 12 or 10 or something like that. I don't think so. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
that much faith in Ferrari. I do appreciate that Ferrari seems to be a team process over team results. Uh, with Mattia saying that they're not going to like overreact and stuff like that. But one thing that I think has hurt Ferrari this year, and it hurt them in the Hungarian Grand Prix, and it's hurt them a couple times, is they're afraid to like tell their guys not to race and to give team orders. And this goes both ways, right? So like, um, in the Hungarian Grand Prix, they probably should have let Charles go past Carlos much sooner, because he was just quicker the whole time, right? And then if you go back to like uh, Britain, they probably should have let Carlos pass Charles instead of asking Carlos to like hold people off, right? Um, they just seem to make like afraid to like strategize and try to guarantee the win, and they want to say like, oh, both guys can still be in it kind of thing, and that's just the
Mm-hmm.
wrong thing to do. I think like you don't have to say Charles is our clear number one. Like you just have to say this situation calls for letting Charles pass, right? Like he's faster. We're not in first, right? It's not like Carlos was leading the race, you know. um and I just think you have to be unafraid to make calls like that to win, and they seem to be afraid to do that.
They
That's really what it is.
they just they just suck at decision making. It's like they go in with a game plan or an outline, and then they just don't deviate from it.
Right. It
There's
also seems like
no
it just seems
there's
like they're afraid to pick a driver in a way, right? Like,
well, yeah,
Mercedes has done it.
that's part of it though. That's they should like there's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no creativity, there's no yeah, there's just they have like their main points. Like we're gonna let our drivers compete. We're gonna, the models say that the medium tire is the best tire, so we're gonna start on that. Like, be damned what the weather is or what the track temperature is or what else is going on. They have no imagination really with and it's just I don't know if it's Bonato. I don't know what it is. It just seems like there's just a dumb clown culture. I mean, the memes are true. I'm gonna buy you a freaking if I buy you a clown afro and a Ferrari shirt, will you wear it at Coda?
I mean, probably.
Might have to do that. But yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much of this is because Ferrari was shamed for in like I think it was the early 2000s when Barrichello was winning a race. I can't even remember which one it was, and then they, Michael was running second, and they had Barrichello basically like stop on the final straightaway and like be ahead of the line, let Michael go, and then just kind of rolled over. And then there was the Fernando is faster than you to Felipe Massa way back. So it seems like that's on top of their, at the front of their mind as far as letting like Carlos and Charles race. But I mean, the way they lost this one primarily was because they were too worried about Max, who started what did he start? 6th, 10th?
10th.
10th, yeah, because or no, I think he started 6th and Sergio started 10th. I can't remember.
No, they were 10th and 11th.
That's right.
Lewis
That's
started
right.
7th.
Uh-huh. Um and yeah, I think he was like running 6th when Ferrari decided to pit Charles for hards. Like, I mean, I'm like freaking Fernando Tazzi Sr. trying to do freaking mental gymnastics in my head to try to make it make sense. Um, and I can't blame this on signs. I can't think of any way to blame signs for this, but like Charles, I think he went to like lap 25 or something on the mediums, pitted for mediums, meaning he had to pit again. Um, like if they would have threw him on the hards there, which it didn't even like that's what Alpine did and it wasn't working.
Right.
Um, but that would be somewhat understandable because there was a lot of the race left and they thought they could make it to the end. It wouldn't have been the right decision, clearly, but like that would make sense. But then they put him on the mediums, ran him shorter, ran him like 20 laps or something like that, and then brought him in and put him on the hards. It's like, and the only reason they did that was because they wanted to cover off Verstappen. And then I think they screwed up the pit, didn't they? So he got around him anyway, or he's
Yeah,
just like in front of him with cold tires and got past like right away.
yeah.
It's
Well,
like, what are you doing? What are you
the
doing?
other
He could have
thing,
ran longer.
the other thing I saw was that on their outlaps, Max went like 6 seconds faster than Charles
Yeah,
because Charles was on those terrible hards, and
yeah.
Max was just. I mean, Max is just really good on the at warming up his tires. So like he does very well compared to most people on his outlaps. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like I think it was the slow pit. He comes out. He's on horrible tires that we already knew were terrible at that point in the race because Alpine had done it and it wasn't working. You know.
Right. Yeah, so that's where I'm saying the mismanagement and whatever the flexibility in their strategy that's not there comes into play because are they not looking at how the Alpines are doing or how the Alpines are doing? Did they not hear about how Red Bull went out on the formation lap on the hards, I think? And they were like, yo, these tires suck. These are not going to work. And then called an audible to start on the softs. Um, there's, I don't know. I'm out of excuses. It's like, I mean, I had a theory that they weren't using like other teams are using AI or probabilities or something with as far as with their strategy, and Ferrari wasn't. Um, however, this kind of shows to me that they just like they don't trust their decisions and they're just going in with whatever strategy they had, which the mediums are the best tires, so we're going to start on those and then just make sure we finish ahead of Verstappen. They raced not to lose instead of racing to win, which is one of my
Yeah,
favorite sports tropes. That is complete bullshit. It's the same thing, but it sounds good. Um, yeah, man, I'm distraught. I have nothing like after that race. It's just like I'm done. I'm done. I'm not investing emotions into this team. Um, so that's where I'm at with it. Is there any hope? I feel like I already asked you this, but you said Leclerc is their driver, so yeah,
yeah. I mean, there's hope, but it's minimal at this point, right? Because
yeah,
Max isn't gonna, barring you know reliability issues, Max isn't gonna finish lower than probably second or third. There might be a fourth in there. Ferrari's main hope is that with this technical directive about the floor, that like floorboard or whatever that can't be in two pieces anymore or something, is that slows Red Bull down and brings Mercedes into play. I think I've said this before. Like they really need to finish first. Ferrari does all the time, and Mercedes needs to start taking some of those second and thirds away from Red Bull. That's their
yeah,
hope.
yeah. And they're gonna have all kinds of engine penalties because like they keep losing components. Like, is that another strategy thing? Are they running the cars too hard, wanting to be the top of the freaking practice sessions or in qualifying, and then
Right.
wasting him? I mean, I think probably not because we're seeing it with other. I think it's just the units themselves. Like Haas has had problems, Alfa Romeo has had problems. So
Well, I think
um,
we've also seen that Ferrari going into the year said that they went for performance over reliability, and we've really
yeah,
seen that, right? Like,
yeah, they love making the headlines. That I mean, it's always talked about. Like the first test of the season, they want to finish that session number one. It's just this is always and all the all the journos they've loved pointing that out. Oh, the newspapers in Maranello are gonna have Ferrari on the cover, and like
yeah,
I mean that's what I'm saying. It's like a boomer F1 team. They want to do things to make the newspaper headlines. It's instead of worrying about now, you just don't want to be a meme.
right.
Um, or if you become a meme, you steer into it. That's what they need to do. Like Bernardo needs to go out there with a freaking clown thing on in the nose, like the Gunther Steiner or whatever his name is for Haas. He gets it. He gets it. He's like, yeah, man, pimp out my drivers to freaking weird boat knick-knack catalogs, like the freaking Swedish Swedish Sharper Image or whatever the hell that that catalog they did in Drive to Survive. I mean, like Joe Biden, even he's like, not to get political, but I mean, he was becoming a meme, and then now he's just like kind of owning it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe that's what Ferrari's got to do to recover their image. Um, but yeah, man, I'm done. So yeah, I am officially not going to invest any emotion into the team. I hope they do well, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna pull for Lewis to make a comeback, to end all comebacks, and Daniel Ricciardo too. Everybody loves a good comeback story. So, speaking of Ricardo, that's the other F1 topic we have to touch on is silly season. It is the silliest of all the seasons, and I mean we still got the ongoing drama with McLaren and Piastri. Um, so I mean, I feel like everybody's followed this now, but Piastri was a reserve driver. He was a Formula 2 champion, I believe.
He was.
Did really well. He's been a reserve driver for Alpine for a while. They haven't promoted him. Alonso goes to kind of surprisingly to Aston Martin to replace Vettel, and supposedly Alpine was like caught off guard, and they felt the need to make public that Piastri would be driving for him next season. And then Piastri's like, they shared this without my permission, and I will not be driving with him for next season. He's currently employed by them, so I mean, bold move. What do you think's going on here? Why doesn't he want to drive for Alpine? Like,
Um,
why would you not take an F1 seat?
I don't think, from my understanding of this, uh, I don't think it's necessarily that he doesn't want to drive for Alpine. I think he may have entered in an agreement with another team already,
Mm-hmm.
who many people suspect is McLaren. Um, and he would rather be there than at Alpine, um, if that makes sense. Uh, you
It
know,
doesn't.
well,
Alpine's higher
from
in the title right now, or in the points.
from
But
my
I get what you're
understanding,
saying.
yeah, is that he there was something in his contract with Alpine that they had to have him in a seat by a certain date.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't looking like it was going to happen or something like that, or it didn't happen. So he entered into a contract with another team, and now he is seems contractually obligated to that team.
Mm-hmm.
From what it seems like, from what I've gathered, is that um, he has not done anything wrong. Um, from some of the things I've read from like journalists and stuff around F1, and that the contract he signed was valid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I would assume that we get some sort of resolution soon because, uh, I doubt teams want to deal with this as they go into the second half of the year. And they go into, especially McLaren and Alpine, who are fighting for a constructor's position. Um, I doubt they want this looming over them. Um, and you probably, if you're Daniel Ricciardo, you got to figure out what's going on next year, right? It seems like he actually holds all the cards in this, because it really seems like he could kind of just be a dick and be like, "Nah, I'm not taking a buyout. Like, I want to stay here." Um, you know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
obviously McLaren would still have to pay him, but they don't necessarily have to drive him. But why would you pay someone that much to not drive, right? Um, so it seems like there will be a buyout coming. Just when is that going to happen? And then
Mm-hmm.
where does Danny go? It sounds like he's had interest from multiple teams. Um, it's just a matter of where he's going to go, and then where do people fall in line after that. Seems like Mick may not be at Haas next year. I don't know, but that's the kind of feeling I've gotten from some of the reporting around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this Ricardo Piastri situation needs to get figured out before anything else happens.
Formula One needs a deadline. There's no deadline. They need some sort of contract deadline. And I mean, it might be wise to put it towards the end of the season for the next season, so that way, if the title is kind of out of reach like it is now, it gives us something to be silly about. So, but it is a mess. It is somebody fucked up. How do you put up a post like that without making sure the driver was cool with it? Did they talk? Was this Alpine calling Piastri's bluff? We're going to announce it and deal with the fallout, or, how do you turn down a seat? I mean, I don't know. And then the way that Ricciardo plays into it with his contract, because I mean, what's he going to do if Ricardo stays? Is he going to be the test driver for McLaren? That's not exactly a step up. I've felt like there's something, like I've just smelled something fishy this whole time with McLaren. Why they're getting so many drivers, and I mean, you said, well, it's the Zach Brown effect. Everybody, he's the freaking Kevin Hart, or not Kevin Hart. What's Paul Blart? What's Kevin James?
Yeah,
Kevin James. He's the Kevin James of the Formula One grid. It's just like everybody loves him. He's just this like jolly dude, just kind of like lumbering around. Um, there's the IndyCar tie-in, but I don't see Ricardo going to IndyCar. I do see one of the McLaren's drivers from Indy coming over to McLaren eventually, and they got Lando under contract. Um, the capital J's won't speculate, but I mean, I wrote an article about it a while ago. I think there's some big names like Lewis Hamilton. Is he ready to walk away? I mean, I could see it happening. I could see him leaving this year, and then you got Lando going to Merck, and then all of a sudden there's two McLaren seats, and not only two McLaren seats, but McLaren looking for a one because Lando left, and I could see, then I could see it, because if you go to Alpine, you're going to be like, they love Ocon. He's French. He won him a race. For whatever reason, they love Ocon. So he's going to be the one. And he's going to be the one that maybe shouldn't be a one. And I wouldn't want to be on a team where I think I'm better than the other guy and I can't race him, even though they let their drivers race. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't. And the other thing is, like, I could see the engine suppliers being shuffled around, or Renault, who supplies Alpine, uh, could be withdrawing, and they could be looking for an engine. I don't know. It's just there's something fishy with the whole grid right now, and there's something fishy with the drivers, and can't quite place it. I could be wrong, but that's just a suspicion I have.
yeah. I mean, I don't think Lewis retires yet. He seems if this had happened, 2, 3 races into the year, I think I could have seen it. He seems pretty dejected. But now he seems like really focused, really into it. Mercedes is performing better. I don't see a retirement coming from him yet. Um, but you're right. It could be soon. He's around the right age. He's made more than enough money. He can, you know, he has enough interest off the racetrack that I could see. I don't see him sticking around like a Fernando Alonso, where like Alonso seems to just want to race. Like that's his life. Lewis does not strike me as that kind of person, but you never know. But Yeah, I'm with you. I think should something happen at one of those top teams, um, I think Lando is probably the first one that gets called up, right? So then that opens a whole can of worms uh,
Hmm.
because you know who's available at that point, right? Like everyone becomes available to fill in for McLaren or whatever because if you're a driver, heck, even Magnussen would probably jump at the chance to move up to McLaren, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think something's up, but I I don't know why. I like have this weird feeling like Ferrari might drop signs, and I don't know why. I like he's been very good. I actually think he's a great compliment to Charles. I just get this weird feeling about that whole situation.
God, I hope so. Um, I'm just not about signs. I never really have been. I mean, he seems all right. He seems like a funny guy or whatever, but he kind of seems like a bro. He just seems like this dopey bro. Like the way he seems kind of tone deaf when interviews. Like I mean, I get it, but yeah, he seems to be missing like a comprehension of his place on the grid and so I mean he talks like he's like a world championship favorite every single time.
Right.
It's like
And
when he didn't get the it was a Ferrari 1-2 I think in qualifying in Bahrain or maybe even it was after the race where they finished 1-2 and they asked him like oh how great is this for Ferrari and he's like well I missed a couple of attempts and I in the sector too, and I felt like I was in line for pole, and it's like, bro, time and place. Like Ferrari, you
right.
got a Ferrari 1-2 at the first race in the season. Like you should be pretty hyped. And anyway, so they could, but they extended it. I mean I said I've said multiple times that contracts don't mean shit. Um, I feel like since Ferrari just signed him or just extended him, I mean these contracts aren't made public, so I don't know what parameters they put around it, but I would assume he would need another seat. I don't know where he goes unless it's like the Haas, and that would just be, oh man, that would be so bad for him. But I feel the
Yeah,
same way with Sergio Perez. Like I've seen speculation that Piastri's like trying to get into Red Bull. It's like, well, they just extended Perez. Like, uh, I say, I do say contracts don't matter, but I kind of look at every contract like it's 2 years. And so this is year one of it. And the next year they can make decisions on those people that they just extended.
yeah.
So I don't know.
I think part of it for me is like this whole thing with Mick at Haas. Like I don't know what their plan is, but like it seemed like they were negotiating a contract and then like they called it off. They're like, no, we're not. Like we're backing off of that right now. And then there were some reports that like Mick's not expected back at Haas anymore or something like that. And like I just get this weird feeling like Ferrari might swap Mick and Sainz. And I actually don't think it would necessarily be a bad thing for them if Mick was decent because I don't think Mick is as good as Sainz, so they wouldn't necessarily have to do team orders to keep
Hmm.
Charles in front. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think it's a good move, but I could see them doing that in a way to like lessen the like stress on them from like not having to force a Charles win.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think Mick is just decent. Like you put him in that Ferrari, he'll be okay, but like he's not going to be like world beating or anything, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I would want Ferrari to do is to move signs to wherever. I mean, he could go back to freaking Red Bull. Like him and Perez should just switch. That's what I would like. Um, I've wanted Perez was like a Ferrari Academy driver. Um, I would I mean he would like complete the ticket because Ferrari is huge in Mexico, so
Yeah.
that would
Hey,
be a good pairing. And then plus, I don't think you challenge him too much, like you said.
I'll be right.
All right, so Max leads the title, 70 points. I don't see there's any way that Ferrari can cover it. They have to take some penalties. I mean, like Jeff said, the best hope is that Mercedes, specifically Lewis, gets back in the mix. He dices up with Max, maybe causes a little like if I mean if Ferrari if Max somehow DNFs twice, then we're back in it, which is possible. It's unlikely, and it also presumes that Ferrari doesn't shoot themselves in the foot, which they keep doing. So that's the hope we have. It's such a homer. That's the hope we have as a Ferrari driver. I'm telling I'm done with them, and then making a case for why they still have a breath of life. But yeah, it's rough. So let's go Danny Rick. Let's go Lewis. Spa is coming up. There's going to be a lot of talk about it maybe not being on the calendar next year, which would be an absolute tragedy. They just revised the Eau Rouge Raidillon complex. They added new stands. I mean, it's my favorite track. Last year, of course, it got rained out, which was a disaster. But yeah, it's probably the most dangerous track, and it's super exciting. It's a beautiful setting for a Formula One race. So hopefully we're on for a good one. Let's get some sprinkles, not a freaking flood this year. But yeah, I'm excited. So unless you got anything else on Formula One, you want to transition to NFL. Preseason has started.
Let's do it. We do have some news this morning that Schefter shared that
Derwin
Miko
James.
Hardman was carted off the field this morning.
Ooh, no bueno.
I don't think it says what happened exactly. It just says carted off at practice.
He's not doing his freaking calf raises. Did you hear that? Do you watch Hard Knocks, or have you seen the clip?
I have not. Is this from last night?
Yeah, Kevin Durant caught like the stray of all strays. So Equanimous Saint or Amon-Ra Saint Brown, his and Equanimous, but they're brothers. Their dad was like the Mr. Universe competitor or whatever in like the 80s, early 90s, or at some point. And so he's a gym rat, and he's got him in the gym, and he just started talking about how he gets his kids into shape and tells them he said, like, people always come to me and say, like, what's the best way to work out, or how do you have a body like that? And he's like, I tell them just like I tell everybody the same thing. You got to work on the whole body. It's like, it's from everywhere. And he said you have people like Kevin Durant popping his Achilles or something. I don't know what Durant's actual injury was. He's like, I just want to ask him, like, when was the last time you did calf extensions or calf raises? Just completely bodying Kevin Durant out of nowhere for no reason. Yeah, and I don't know. Hard Knocks has been really good this year. It's got me amped. I got a slow draft going on right now. That's pretty fun. It's a managed league, not a slow draft best ball league. So it's like the first managed team I'm drafting this year, and it's on Fantrax.
Okay.
It's Christopher Harris. He has a podcast that I'm a listener of, and he organized it's basically, I don't know if it's a Scott Fishbowl clone. I don't think it is, which is like the big one that all the big analysts get invited to, and some randoms get like lottery tickets. They get into it. I've applied a few times. I haven't got accepted.
I've applied every year for the last like 5 years and have yet to get in.
So, but it's kind of like the same format, and like a lot of the underdog leagues where there's like a 14 Like you're in a group of 12, and I don't know if I think first and second moves on to the playoff rounds. But yeah, so it's pretty fun. It's super flex, and there's like three wide receivers and two flexes. So you're starting. I mean, it's a pretty big roster. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Um, the way it's done. I think there's a few owners in there who didn't realize it was super flex. So I kind of took advantage of that early on. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a lot of fun. The drafters are slow, but yeah. So I mean, I just want to kind of get the gauge on the macro as we head into the NFL season. Jeff, you had some betting trends that you were talking to me about earlier, as far as if you're looking to bet games, maybe some macro strategy that you can look for and kind of use to your advantage. So
Oh,
you want to get into
yeah.
that?
Well, seeing as how I can't do a lot of the fantasy football stuff because Idaho is not a huge fan of gambling in general, but there are, obviously offshore books that I can use. So I've been looking more into the sports betting stuff, and just
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I'm looking at right now is basically how often a spread line comes up. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say the home team is -3, and then how often do they win by more than that, right? So how often are they winning? How often is the away team winning? Just trying to see some historical numbers. And so, like, for example, um, the most popular line that I've seen that I have over the last 10 years is the home team being favored by 3. It's happened 227 times, but the home team wins by more than 3 only 42.2% of the time. That doesn't mean to just blindly bet the away team there, right? Because most of these lines are still, they're -110. So you still have to win 52.5% of the time or something like that to break even.
Mm-hmm.
The away team is only winning by uh, is only beating the spread 48.5% of the time. This line ties almost 10% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that pretty interesting. Um, the first popular line that becomes worth it is really 5. The home team being favored by 5. It's happened 49 times, and the home team wins 53% of the time. Still not a huge amount, but that's the first one that you would actually probably make money just betting it blindly.
Mm-hmm.
Over the In the past, obviously that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen going forward. For the away side, though, they tend to win a little bit more, which I found fairly interesting. So if the away side is favored by 8, they win 63% of the time. If they're 1.5 point underdogs, they win 63% of the time. Um, if they're 1.5 point favorites, they win 63% of the time. Um, and then
Yeah,
here's one. So if, like, the home team is favored by 6, the away team wins almost 59% of the time. And that's
interesting.
happened a decent amount. That's happened 90 times in the last 10 years. So almost 9 times a year. Um,
I
you
think
know,
I think this is all really interesting because it kind of confirms, or at least uh, puts numbers and figures on a human trend that I think makes sense. Because when I'm betting games, the first thing I do is look at who's the favorite, and I kind of instinctively want to bet them because they're the better team, and you're looking for reasons to bet them. And I think that's just the easy way. And then I think at a certain point, you get into there's just this group mentality or late money that comes in, and it's just people picking the favorites, and that just puts some inherent value as maybe the line moves, or Vegas knows that and kind of sets the line to bait in people to take the favorites, and just gives value to the underdogs there. So It's really interesting to hear that play out. And like you said, it's not a trend you can just blindly bet. However, it sounds like if you're betting significant amounts of money, it could be a system that you use and you might be able to make a minimal profit. But I mean, you have to be really disciplined to do that. And I mean, when I'm betting, it's mainly for fun. So, however, I will say with like pick'ems and stuff, which I am the king, reigning like 5-time champion. That is a play I look for. If there's a small line where like a road team is like an underdog by a point or a point and a half, I'll take that underdog straight up in pick'ems because Vegas gives 3 points to the home team, and so if there's a home spread less than 3 points, that means Vegas thinks the other team's better, and the home field advantage thing is kind of not as big of a thing as it used to be since a lot of the playing surfaces are the same. Um,
Oh, I
so
have that too if you want that.
yeah, so I'll pick the underdog, and I mean it doesn't always work out, but it's a strategy I've used to win some weeks.
Yeah, I think, one thing, like for me, I'm doing this because it's something that um, I would try to incorporate into like a model to try to pick games. I
Mm-hmm.
think incorporating stuff like this can be helpful. Um, but I'm with you. You know, I think too many people overestimate what home field advantage is. So like going back to 2010. So this is the what I've gathered as home field advantage per year. So 2010, it was about 1.9 points. 2011, it was 3.2. 2012 is 2.3, 2.4. 2013, it was 3.1. 2014, it was 2.5. 15, 1.5. 2016, 2.5. 2017, 2.5. 2018, 2.2. And then 2019, it was actually a negative to be home. It was negative 0.14 points per game. 2020, it was 0.05. And then last year was back to 1.7. So what this tells me is that I think 2019 was a little bit of an outlier, right? It's the only one that's negative. 2020, there were no fans in the stands for most of these games, right? Because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have fans, it probably doesn't matter as much, right? You can't feed off that energy. Um, the other thing that I track is the home team win percentage. So how often does the home team actually win, right? Not just by how much, but like how often. And that usually hovers around between 55 and 60%. Um, and even in 2019, when the home team, when as far as like for points, it was a negative. The home team still won 51% of the games. That just tells me that there were probably a few outlier away scores, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, you know, something like that. In 2020, though, with no fans, 49% of the games were won by the home team. So what this says to me is like with no fans, is that fans actually have an advantage, right? I haven't broken
Mm-hmm.
this out by team specifically, but this is just the NFL as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
But then last year it went back up to 51%, right? So you get fans back in the stands, you start winning more home games again, and by more points. It'll be interesting to track it this year. I think home field advantage as a whole has gone down. I don't know if we'll see that like 3.2 points per game like we did in 2011, but combining the what I've seen in home field advantage and what I've seen with um, spreads and their win percentages is it makes me think that the average person completely overweights uh, home field advantage. And
Yeah.
that the average person, as you said, 3 is a common number that people use. Like the average person says, oh, if it's even, then the home team should be favored by 3. But I don't think that's really true anymore.
Mm.
And some of the people that I follow that talk about sports betting have talked about this for the last few years, that home field advantage is probably closer to like 1.5 or 1 than it is
Mm.
3 these days. And I think you can see that in some of the betting trends here, right? Like, um, it's just, it seems like the home team wins just blindly less than the away team does, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I even actually did that. And the home team for every spread beats the spread 47.5% of the time. The away team beats the spread 50% of the time. And then they tie 2.5% of the time. So, that it kind of tells me that the average person or the average bettor overweights the home team. And so that's something to build into a model for me, I think, to keep track of, right? So
Yeah,
that's really
definitely.
what I've been looking at.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of good information there. Um, yeah, and if you're looking to spice things up a little bit, or if anybody is out there, I use bookmaker.eu. You just need a Bitcoin account, and you can put in money there. It's super easy, and they have there's. I mean, we don't have any promo codes, but there are like promo codes out there. Just look for it; they'll match. You could bet as little as $1, so which I frequently do. So yeah, it's fun. Um, Gamble responsibly, obviously. But yeah, it is nice to have some skin in the game when you're watching these games. Put your your superior intellect to practice. You can bet Formula One on there too. Um, they don't have much variety with what you can bet. Usually, it's like winners. I wish they had like a podium bet, like I think BetMGM does, but I can't access BetMGM here because it's like located in Nevada. But yeah, I mean, there's some other ones that just haven't, dug into too deep, and I don't want to have like, you know, $10 and like 5 different books or something. It's just not cost effective. So yeah, that's some things you can kind of use to your advantage. Do you have anything else on the kind of the macro view of the NFL? Are you feeling the freaking padded helmets that they have? I hear a lot of boomers complaining about them, but
I actually kind of like it. I'm a fan of making things safer in general.
yeah,
I don't enjoy it when, my favorite players go out hurt, right? Like
yeah,
that's not fun. It's also not fun hearing about guys you looked up to when you were young, shooting themselves in the chest or in the head or going crazy because they have these repetitive head injuries, right? So I'm a fan of making all of this safer because I want to see guys throw their bodies around as much as possible. Like
mm-hmm.
ACLs are going to happen, Achilles injuries are going to happen, like soft tissue stuff. Like you can't do much about that other than like the people themselves trying to, make themselves more flexible or stronger or whatever the case may be. And they can do that with their personal trainers. But as a whole, the more you can do to protect these guys so they can go out and put their bodies on the line, right? And then live a full life afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that, they have a lot of people are blinded by the money that these guys make, but like I would like them to have full lives when they're done as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the average NFL career is like 3 years. Like we don't think about that because like you see stars for 8, 9, 10, 15 years sometimes, right? But the average career is like 2.5, 3 years. These guys aren't just you know
Yeah,
all living the life forever.
a lot more Peyton Hillises than there are Ladinian Tomlinsons.
Exactly.
I mean, you even see guys who you think of as kind of relatively young, but have been around for a while, like DeAndre Hopkins, like AJ Green, Ochocinco when it happened. These wide receivers who you feel like they had a long career, but they were only really there for like 9 years or 10 years, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a really long time. That's
Yep.
like an outlier, and they didn't even go that long. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
besides like the quarterbacks, obviously, who take less damage, but yeah. So I'm for the safety too. I'm just really excited for the NFL this year. We had fans back in the stands last year. Um, I think because that was kind of new and a lot of people still weren't like going to public things too often. I mean, I went to a game last year. I didn't feel that safe. I wore a mask the whole time. Um, so yeah, I think being further removed from COVID, some sense of normalcy, getting back, like people are ready to go, and I think it's going to be a good season. The AFC West is going to be tough. The NFC West is going to be tough, and those two divisions are playing each other this year, so there's going to be a lot of good games. Get Amazon Prime if you want to watch the Thursday games. NFL Plus is a great deal. I'm not to one to shill for the Shield, but it's like $80 a year, and you can watch replays, and I think you can watch um, games on your mobile device, like any game. You just have a cell phone, you can watch it. Um, I don't know if you can't be hooked up to Wi-Fi. Yahoo did something like that when they had the Thursday games, where you couldn't be hooked up to Wi-Fi, and if you weren't hooked up to a Wi-Fi, you can like stream the game on your phone, which I did for a few Thursday games. But anyway, yeah, man. Um, what do you? Oh, bro, do you have an announcement to make? You need to disavow Deshaun Watson and the Browns first of all. And have you picked your team yet?
Um,
Let's make
I
some
don't have an
headlines.
announcement yet.
Damn it!
The announcement will come soon. I'm pretty confident I know the team I'm going with, but I will say, no longer a Browns fan. Can't support what they did this offseason.
Yeah,
Um,
if you go to the
so,
Niners, you're dead to me. Just so you know.
um, yeah, I
They
will
got the more
confidently.
racist. They got the more racist Bosa brother, and the the gadget QB that's definitely not going to flame out and in a
Yeah,
year or two, even if he does
I
have
can
one good season.
confidently say it will not be a 49ers announcement.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's clap it up. Let's clap it up. Dodge that
I'll give you
bullet.
that one.
Thoughts and
Um,
prayers. I mean, if you look at the Niners home games, they could use some fans. I know it's SoCal that gets all the fair weather fan shit thrown around, but yeah, it's Cupertino. Nobody nobody wants to leave their freaking internet cafes there. They probably don't even serve those freaking fancy lattes that look like Georgia O'Keeffe or Georgia O'Keeffe artwork. If you know what I'm saying, bonk. I'm gonna bonk myself there. Great. With the whole Fernando Tatis thing too. I think in the Padres reaching their flame out, it would seem, which God, I'm hoping not. I think I might. Well, I mean, they're kind of falling apart too, but I think I might, become a Yankee hardo for the lulls for the remainder of this season.
well,
But yeah, I know they're doing bad. They're like 8-20 or something since the All Star break, but perfect. I love
so
me
hold on.
bastards, cripples, and
So
broken things.
they're not performing as poorly as people expect. The win loss record does not look good, but in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like total runs and stuff, like they still scored more runs than any team in the league in July, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not playing terribly. Their pitching not great. They could use Stanton coming back. I believe they're bringing up someone from the minors today to kind of help inject some life into the team. Um, but given all their struggles, I believe they've only lost like 3 games in the division lead. They were up like 13 games. I think it's 10 now. So it's not
Mm,
like anyone's taken advantage of it, you know.
yeah, I mean the
So
Red Sox gave up when they brought in Hosmer. They're like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
we're out.
But yeah,
God damn you, Eric Hosmer. I'm blaming you for all of this and Carlos Sainz. I have yet to figure out a way to pin Tatis's haircut on Sainz, but I mean, it's probably not that hard. Like Tatis is probably rehabbing the off season, nothing to do, watch Drive to Survive, like Carlos's haircut, said, "Give me the Carlos," and he got ringworm.
give me the Carlos.
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know, man. All right. Yeah, the scrappy team from the Bronx. Are they still in the Bronx?
They are. They
The
just moved across the
scrappy,
street from where they
scrappy.
used to be.
They represent just a borough of
Yeah,
a city. Everybody loves the underdogs. All right, you ready to get out of here?
whatever you are.
I had some PF Chang's since the last time
Oh,
we
you
went.
did?
Yeah, it was
Nice.
just as terrible as I remember it. My daughter wouldn't eat it. She's like trash. And
Good. Good
yeah,
for her.
yeah, the baby mama loves it. I don't know why. I do not a fan of PF Chang's, but I needed some PF Chang's after that freaking Ferrari performance. So,
Nice.
anywho, let's get this pumpernickel.
Let's get it.
Till next time, toodaloo.